What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Waters. Welcome to Left to Metal. It's time for my top 30 of 2022. Yeah, so I'm going to do a top 30 of 2022. 2022 was a huge year for music. I mean, especially music that I'm into, you know, everything from prog rock to thrash metal, death metal, heavy metal, hard rock. I mean, there's just so many great releases. I really was surprised that I was going to do a top 22 for 2022, but I couldn't pare it down to only 22. And even at 30, I left off some albums that I thought were fantastic for that year, for last year. But I'm going to go ahead and get right into it because I have a lot to show. 30 records. I'm going to try and keep it at 30 minutes. That's only a minute a piece, so I'm going to go quickly. First of all, I want to do 3 runners-up, not because... Well, let me just throw them real quick. So this is the new Ed Wynn album. Of course, Ed Wynn being from Ozric Tentacles, prog rock, Prodigy, freaking awesome. The reason this is not on my list, I just got it. I haven't even heard it yet. I haven't even cracked the plastic on it, but love Ed Wynn, love Ozric Tentacles, so it was I just had to show it. This one here is one of my most listened to albums of the year. If I had included it in my list, then it would have been in my top 5. But this is Aerosmith. The Road Starts Here, which is early recordings from the band, like their earliest recordings from the band. I think it was like 1971. October 1971, these were recorded, and surprisingly, these sound fantastic. I actually think some of these tracks sound better than the recordings on their very first album, so really cool release. Unfortunately, it's not really a new album. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Like I said, it was recorded in 71. It was lost recordings, but, I mean, this thing is fantastic. If you're an Aerosmith fan at all, especially if you love the 70s stuff, this is one to pick up. And then finally, this one definitely would have been in my top 10. Kind of a weird thing because it was released in 2021, but like the mid to end of December 2021, and the vinyl didn't come out until January of 2022. So, I mean, it kind of has a crossover thing. I almost included it. I decided not to include it only because I had so much stuff and I was having a hard time cooking stuff out, but realistically, this one was 2022, so therefore, that's why Deliverance, Camelot Redux, it was not on the list. This thing's fantastic. Just great melodic heavy metal, very Queensryche-ish, especially if you dig, Empire and Operation Mindcrime. So, okay, let me get right into this. Number 30, and I did make a list so I don't mess this up this time. Number 30, Savage Master. I've spun this thing a bunch of times, really enjoyed it. Straightforward, heavy metal. Those Who Hunt at Night. If you know this band at all, this is exactly what you expect from them. I kind of just think they're fun. Obviously, they kind of get into this whole dungeons and thing where, I don't know, she's kind of the mistress of the dungeon, and her bandmates are all wearing black cloaks. Regardless of that kind of thing, I really enjoyed the music, and I like her vocals. She's aggressive, and she's not trying to write pop songs. She's writing a real classic heavy metal. Definitely one for the new wave of traditional heavy metal movement. They've been around for quite a while now. So, next band, number 29. I'm sorry, number 29 is on cassette only. I don't have the vinyl yet. But this is SIREN, and this is A Mercenary's Fate. This is their second new release since reforming a couple years ago. Again, straightforward heavy metal, pushing towards speed metal and thrash at times, mostly sticking in the straightforward US power metal sound, which I really dig. Classic band coming back and putting out great stuff. SIREN's A Mercenary's Fate, showing the old school, the new school how to do it right. So there you go, old school stuff from SIREN. And then this next one is actually kind of, a lot of people can include them in the new wave of traditional heavy metal bands, but this is number 28, and it's Wolf. This being the Shadowland album. When I first got this thing in the mail, I played it over and over again. So good. So just straightforward heavy metal, a bit melodic, but not poppy either. It's just good, straightforward heavy metal. I mean, if you like, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, that sort of thing, you're probably going to dig Wolf. Wolf has been around for a while. They kind of predate the whole new wave of traditional heavy metal movement by at least a few years, but they kind of still fall into that sound. So really good album from Wolf. Cool album cover too. I like the artwork. All right, I'm not talking a whole lot about these things because I've talked about them before, and I'm really trying to keep this thing under 30 minutes. Sorry, my light moved. All right, number 27, Pat Travers. and this is The Art of Time Travel. This is his newest release. Obviously, it just came out a few months ago. I'm not quite as familiar with it yet as I'd like to be, because I really, really enjoy Pat Travers, especially his 70s and early 80s stuff. One of my early concert experiences was seeing Pat Travers on the Black Pearl Tour, opening up for Aerosmith on the Rock and Hard Place Tour. And so there, I just have this love for Travers and his music. And this album is just straightforward hard rock, exactly what you expect from Pat. I know he got deeply into the blues for a while and was doing a lot of blues stuff, but this here is just a straightforward hard rock album. Fans of old school, 70s and early 80s Pat Travers, you'll probably dig this album as well. Pat Travers, The Art of Time Travel. Following right up with number 26, excuse me. This is Ted Nugent, Detroit Muscle. Knowing how much of a big Nugent fan I am, you're probably wondering why it's so low on the list. I think it's a really good album. I played it over and over again. I am a Nugent fanatic, and I love his stuff. I thought his last album was kind of weak, and it didn't even make my list. What was that, 2020, I think, or 2019? But this album is an improvement over that one. There's some great stuff on here. But again, I don't think it's as solid as some of the stuff he's done in more recent years. I don't know. Love Grenade was a great album. Crave Man was fantastic, and this is good too, but it's just not quite up to par with those, but I still quite enjoyed it. So if you're a fan of Nugent, you'll probably dig this album. It's really well done. Available on CD and vinyl. There you go. Ted Nugent at number 26. Number 25, a band who never disappoints me and has been around for, gosh, at least 20 or 30 years now, but this is HAMMERFALL. Hammer of the Dawn, exactly what you want to hear from HAMMERFALL, that European power metal sound. They were always, they were always called a power metal band, but when you think of power metal, you tend to think double bass all the time, fast songs, Dungeons and Dragons. These guys are more traditional heavy metal, in my opinion. They're definitely melodic, but they're also heavy. If you don't know who HAMMERFALL is, chances are you probably just don't know anything about metal. But I think it's a really good album. I love the artwork. They always have great artwork. It's just a solid album. I think what they did on this one was not go to the extremes. They didn't put too many songs on there, so it doesn't, it leaves you wanting for more. I think just 6 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 5 songs on each side. Perfect. When you start getting into double albums from bands like this, you can get lost in it and get bored with it, but this HAMMERFALL album is perfection. It's just fantastic, straightforward heavy metal. So, all right, this album is another one like the Nugent, big improvement over their last album. I don't know that it's better than their classic stuff, but this is Anvil, Impact is Imminent. First of all, far better album cover than the last one. That one that had the angels smoking on the bong. It was just dumb. But this album cover is more Anvil-esque. Really enjoyed this album. Played it quite a bit. Even the lyrics are better on this one, I think. I think they put a little more thought into them. The other one was all this, hooray, weed is, marijuana is legal in Canada. Yay. But this one here, there's some more thought-provoking lyrics. There are some of that fun kind of... One of the things I liked about Anvil was they never cared that, about showing their Canadian side. So there's always these stories that are very Canadian in sound, and I think you hear that again on this one, and I always enjoyed that about them. So very cool album. Impact is Imminent, coming in at number 24 on my list. All right, number 23, another one. This band, Blind Guardian. Now this album is heads and tails above anything they've released recently. They just had gotten so into the orchestra stuff and so into classical that it's just, I don't know, to me it just got boring. I put it on, I'm like, oh, this is good, but you just never revisit it. Now this album here, it's a return to heavy metal, a return to what you think about when you think about Blind Guardian. That's just straightforward power metal, European power metal. Again, not the Dungeons and Dragons double bass kind of stuff, although there is some of that up here too. It's Blind Guardian. It sounds like classic Blind Guardian, and I really enjoyed this album. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. Blind Guardian hasn't been on one of my lists for years, so very cool. This is the God Machine. I wonder how many bands have that same name, God Machine. I think there's several of them. All right, this band is probably one that most people don't know about. The band's actually sent me a CD of theirs in the mail asking if I'd like to hear it. They're a prog band, not metal at all. And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to hear it. So they sent it to me, and man, I just fell in love with the CD. And then, to my surprise, the band also sent me the vinyls down the line. And I'm not showing it just because they sent it to me. I really do enjoy this album quite a bit. But this is Moon Letters, and the name of the album is Moon Letters, Thank You from the Future. Like I said, just prog rock. So look up Moon Letters on Bandcamp if you're interested in checking these guys out. CD and vinyl. Like I said, really good, lots of melody, lots of, fast-paced stuff, medium-paced stuff, slow-paced stuff, all kind of weave together to create this cool prog tapestry. Really good stuff. I kind of have a hard time comparing them to anybody, but I mean, if you're into, the classic 70s kind of stuff, Yes and Nectar and King Crimson and those kind of things, you're probably going to dig this too. It's really well done. I like the album cover art as well, and just great music from a band that pretty much nobody knows about right now, but hopefully we can help them get some more exposure because they're a great band. Moon Letters, Thank You from the Future. All right, where are we at? Oh, this album was one of the best sellers for one of the labels I work for. This is Rox Records. This is Fear Not. Coming in at number, where are we at here? Number 21. This is Fields of Sorrow. I actually did the cover art for this, did the layout for this, and I love this band. These guys are so cool. This is only their second full-length album under the name Fear Not, and they've been around since, '89. Before that, they were under a band name called Love Life. They released one album as Love Life, then they released an album as Fear Not, which would have been in the early 90s. Then 2 or 3 years ago, they released an EP, and then finally this year they released this thing, and this thing is just a fantastic album. I mean, it's sound-wise, if you like that sleazy stuff they were doing in the late 80s and early 90s, there's some of that still here, but it's also kind of a mix of old and new. So there's some modern rock sounds in here too. It's hard to explain it because I'm not a big fan of modern rock. Like, I won't turn on the radio and listen to modern rock because it just bores me to death. These guys somehow have created a modern sound that doesn't sound boring and still incorporates some of their old school sound. So I really enjoyed this album. It's called Fields of Sorrow. My copy happens to be autographed by the band, and that was because I did the artwork for them, so they kindly signed a copy for me. Fields of Sorrow by Fear Not. That's on Rox Records. This was kind of a shocker. I didn't know this was coming out, but this is A through Z. Another prog album. Again, not metal, not super heavy. This is prog rock on Metal Blade Records. This features Mark Zonder, who was in Fates Warning, along with Warlord, and Ray Alder, who was also in Fates Warning on vocals. Really good prog rock. If you like Fates Warning, it's, especially the later stuff, you're probably got to dig this too. I actually liked it better than some of the more recent Fates Warning albums. I think it had more hook, more memorable stuff in it, and that's why I played it so much, I think. I love the album cover art too, with the apple on the zebra, and then the apple on the zebra on the back. No, it's funny because the band logo's on there, but there's no name on there. So if you don't know who the band is you're looking for, you may miss it. But A through Z, like I said, Mark Zonder from Fates Warning and Ray Alder from Fates Warning. Really good stuff. Let's see. Exciting new group that reunites Fates Warning vocalist Ray Alder and Warlord drummer the legendary Mark Zonder. There you go. All right, where are we at here? We left off on A through Z being number 20. Number 19 is a CD, and here it is. This is coming out on vinyl soon. It's coming out in early 2023 on vinyl, but it's on CD only now. On a what's the name of the label? I can't remember the name of the label. I actually done some work for this label. I still forgot. The Sharon Collective. This is Testimony of the Apocalypse. This features 2 former members of Sacrament. Of course, Testimony of the Apocalypse was an album by Sacrament. Well, those 2 members got together and decided to reform Sacrament under this new name and put out this brutal, heavy thrash metal album. It's not death metal. It's thrash metal, but it's really, really well done. Can't wait for the vinyl to get here. I'm sure it'll get even more spins once I get the vinyl, because I tend to spin my vinyl more than my CDs, but I still spun this one quite a bit, which is why it comes in at number 19. Was it number 19? Yeah, number 19 on my list. So, Testimony of the Apocalypse. None Escape the Judgment. All right. Next up, Destruction, German thrash metal band. Nice. These guys really haven't ever not, they never really released a bad album in my opinion. Obviously some are better than others, but I think this one's fantastic. I played it a ton over the year that I've had it, and I can't remember when exactly it came out, but it's on Napalm Records. It is brutal thrash metal. It is not just speed for speed's sake, though, which a lot of thrash bands are, that's kind of what they're into. It's just all speed for speed's sake. Now this has got some hooks, some melody, some great guitar solos, just some really good solid riffing, and of course, being thrash metal, it's got that machine gun, beat you over the head hammer sound that you want to hear from thrash metal. It's a fantastic album. This one's kind of sad and awesome at the same time. This is number 17, and this is the first and last solo album from Eric Wagner from The Skull and Trouble. Of course, we lost him in, was it 2020? 2020, I think we lost him. Maybe it was 2021. But anyhow, he passed away from COVID, which really sucks. He was out on tour with his band, The Skull, and caught COVID and got sick and passed away from it. But they did manage to get his solo album out, and it's on Cruz de la Sur Music. If you like Trouble, chances are you're going to like this. It's very Trouble-esque at times, but it's also got some more acoustic and mellow moments. Eric Wagner's classic vocal sound. Really good album from him, and it's kind of a fitting goodbye and tribute to Eric, who we lost, like I said, in the lonely light of mourning. All right, number 16, two from the same band, Voivod. This is the Ultraman EP and the full-length album Synchro Anarchy. It's Voivod. It's metal. It's prog rock. It's all those things combined. It's exactly what you wanted from Voivod. Really enjoyed it. Of course, it's not all the original members, since not all the original members are even alive, but it's really well done. The new studio album by one of the most fervently creative bands in the universe. I'll give them that. And yeah, they released an EP and a full length this year. Love them both. Play them all the time. I get in the mood to hear Voivod at times, and I'll go and grab their classic 80s stuff. But like I said, that one I played quite a bit. I grabbed it quite a bit this year. One of my all-time favorite bands, so I was glad they finally came out with a new album, because these guys are getting up there in age, so I don't know how much longer they're going to keep doing it, but King's X, this is their latest. This is 3 Sides of One. Now, for whatever reason, I was expecting something more heavy like Dogman, but what we got was something more ethereal, something more progressive, not unlike maybe the first 2 King's X. Now, I'm not saying it sounds like the first 2 albums. It doesn't sound like Gretchen or Out of the Silent Planet, but it has that kind of vibe to it. So it took me a few spins to really get into it. Honestly, first spin, I was a little disappointed. I don't know why. I guess I was expecting something different. But 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, as I kept spinning the record, I kept liking it more and more with every spin. So really enjoyed it. There are a couple different versions of this. It's the black cover version. It comes with a bunch of junk. It's a gatefold, orange vinyl, has a CD, has a booklet, has a poster, has an art print. So there's also a white vinyl version as well, which I think is more common than the black vinyl version. Doesn't matter to me. I just happened to pre-order the black vinyl version. So King's X, 3 Sides of One, coming in at number 15. How am I doing on time? Am I doing all right? Oh, man, I got to hurry. All right, this is a great album. Another one of those bands that are coming back and showing the new guys how to do it right, old school. This is Saint, and this is Heaven Fell. Great album from them. There's a couple songs I thought were a little more mundane, but overall, I think this is a fantastic album. I listened to it over and over again this year. I did get to do some of the artwork on this. Cover art I didn't do, but I did do the layout and created the back cover artwork and the inserts and all that kind of stuff. So really, had a personal connection to this one, not only from the artwork but the music just blew me away. I really thought it was a great album. Saint's been around since 80, 81. They were called the Gentiles at first. They came out their first album came out in 83. Warriors of the Sun, and they've been just cranking out music ever since. So this is definitely up there. Ranks up to me. If I did a top 5 Saint albums, this would be in my top 5 Saint albums. It's that good. All right, what are we at here? We are at number 13, which is a CD. This is the reason I had to do a list, because I couldn't... I didn't have everything on vinyl this year. So anyhow, I don't even know if this one's available on vinyl. I went to see a concert. This band was opening up, and MISFIRE, I believe they're from Chicago. and I thought they were fantastic, man. I immediately, after watching their live performance, walked over to their table and bought myself the cassette and 2 CDs of this. I mean, first of all, I wanted to support them and, you know, buy some merch, but I also had to buy some copies for friends. So I kept the CD for myself. I gave the tape to one friend. I gave the other CD to another friend. I just wanted to turn people onto this band because I was really surprised at how good they were. This is just great thrash metal. You know, new wave of traditional thrash metal, but still, this is the stuff that, you know, thrash metal is made of. Again, machine gunning riffs, you know, just hammer to the skull, heaviness, gruff, you know, vocals, not death metal vocals, but just really gruff, understandable, but still, you know, very heavy and delivered with aggression and a punk-like fury. Great stuff from Chicago, Misfire, and the name of the album is Sympathy for the Ignorant. And that was at number 13. And at number 12, another kind of unknown band, but this one band's from, I believe, Australia. This is Trinity. The album is called Memories of the Ancient Presence. This is doom metal. Slow, epic, mostly traditional doom metal. Really enjoyed this album. I don't know why I was shocked. I mean, I like doom metal, but it's just one of those albums that it took me by surprise that I listened to over and over and over again this year. And it really didn't catch on. I don't really see this showing up in anybody's lists. I haven't seen anybody showing it, but Soundmass.com in the UK has copies of this. Highly recommended. They got 3 vocalists in the band, 2 female and 1 male, and the whole thing is just fantastic. Once again, I did get to work on the artwork on this job here, so I've got that connection with it as well. But still, it's just a really, really good album. Next up, another CD, another band most people probably don't know, but this is the Reconciled. Again, I play this over and over again. So this is doing most of the instrumentation. Funny enough, this one's actually still sealed. I had my, obviously I played it. I had a copy that was opened already, but I open it up real quick. I had given it to another friend, and I ordered myself a new copy, and I was like, and actually it's funny because I knew this video was coming up, and I'm like, oh crap, I don't have that Reconciled CD, so I had to get another copy of it because I'd given it to a friend. But regardless, this is Skin and Bones. So this features Todd Stevens, or XL from DBD. Under here he goes under the name XL, that's his music name. And then vocals are all done by Dale Thompson the Bride. Now Dale's done a lot of projects recently, a lot of side projects, but this thing is one of my favorites. It's really fantastic. Love the cover image too, the dragon eye. Really nicely done album, just great, straightforward. Again, heavy metal, hard rock, maybe a bit of I don't know. I don't even think it's really a modern rock. I think it's just great heavy metal hard rock with screaming vocals from Dale Thompson. All right, where are we at here? We are getting into all right, we're at the Reconciled, now number 11. Number 10, another CD. This is Riot Act, which is basically Rick Ventura, who played on all those early Riot albums, was the other guitar player in the band. He formed Riot Act with one of the old bass players from Riot, who unfortunately passed away before this album was recorded. And then vocalist Don Chafin, who played in the band Red Lamb with Mustaine and Dan Spitz from Anthrax. And anyhow, this is fantastic. If you like that early first 5 Riot albums, do yourself a favor, check this album out. It's really, really well done. Very different from the Riot 5 that's out there who's doing the power metal thing. This is more straightforward, old school heavy metal, much in the vein of those early first 5 Riot albums. In fact, it's a 2-disc set. There's also an EP, but this is a 2-disc set. Disc 1 is all new songs. Vocals are fantastic. I mean, they rank right up there with the best, you know, with the best that Riot's put out. And then disc 2 is all classic Riot stuff. So Rock City, I mean, Swords and Tequila, you know, all these Warrior, there's all these great songs that you're going to know. Road Racing, Outlaw, Altar of the King. Great album from Riot Act. 2-disc set. Also got to see them live opening up for Raven. Man, they were good. And there was nobody there. The club was empty. But man, I so enjoyed it. Anyhow, moving on. We are at number 9. So we're in the top 10. Number 9, new Scorpions album. And I don't know. Last few Scorpions albums were good or okay. But I just never really absorb them. I'd listen to them once, twice, 3 times, and then put them on the shelf with my Scorpion stuff, and then forget about it. And then when I'm in the mood for Scorpions, I'm pulling out the Yuli stuff. But this one here, I never even put it away. It stayed out on behind me on the floor in a pile of records that I listened to a lot, and I just kept pulling it out and listening over and over and over again. This is a double LP. It is 16 songs, 15 of which are fantastic new tracks. One of them is number 16 is an acoustic version of one of the other tracks on here. I think it's a bonus track on the vinyl. Like I said, really good stuff. Even the cover has that kind of classic Scorpions feel to it. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Rock Believer actually was the single from the song. Rock Believer is a single from the album. Rock Believer is also the name of the album. Good stuff from the band who supposedly retired a few years ago, Scorpions, Germany. This is another one that took me by surprise. New band, never heard of them before. Was doing an interview on the Metal Roundtable, one of the other programs that I'm part of on YouTube, and we were doing an interview with Nigel Glocker from Saxon, and he mentioned 6x6, which is an album he recorded this year. Now, this is not anything like Saxon. This is prog rock. And along with him, you've got Ian Crichton from Crichton, how do you say his last name? From Saga, and also Robert Barry, who played in several different bands, but Emerson, Lake and Palmer, I believe he was in that band for a while, or Emerson, Lake and Barry, it might have been called at the time. Regardless, 6x6, again, not metal at all, kind of progressive hard rock, but very well recorded, great stuff, really enjoyed it. It's just very memorable. I just played it so many times, it's ridiculous. That's why it's so high on my list, number 8. Hard to believe that, an album like this, for me, is above a band like, Ted Nugent, that I'm kind of a fanatic of, but it's just so good. There was no way I could put it lower on the list. 6x6, featuring Nigel Glocker of Saxon on drums. Number 7, this one's kind of, I always had a rule of not putting EPs in my list, but I'm breaking that rule this time. Because this thing blew my mind, the new Violence. Let the World Burn, this, again, thrash metal, but this is like an amazing return to form. I mean, it's just freaking awesome. Of course, it's not all the original guys, but it's got some of the original guys. You've got Sean Killian and Phil Dremmel on here, obviously. So, unfortunately, it's only, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs. Would have loved for it to be, 8, 9, 10 songs, but regardless, the 5 songs they gave us, several times this year, I put this thing on, played it all the way through, went over and put it on and played it again. It's just that good. So amazing. And it's cool, because I don't know if I was not expecting it to be that good, but, I mean, there's been a lot of thrash metal albums that released this year that aren't on my list, because even though I like them, I just didn't feel they were as strong as, that, or Voivod, or Destruction, or even Testimony of the Apocalypse that I've already shown. All right, so where are we at? We are at number 6. Wearing the t-shirt. Here's the album. This is Seventh Servant. This is John Greeley of Iced Earth's new power metal band. U.S. power metal. Epic stuff. Really well done. Kind of progressive at times. What's his name? Ripper Owens. Tim Ripper Owens also does some guest vocals on here, mostly background vocals. But yeah, so you got 2 former Iced Earth vocalists on this album. Of course, John Greeley sang on one of Iced Earth's most popular albums, their second album, which was Night of the Storm Rider, which is still probably my favorite Iced Earth album. But regardless, this, I mean, if you like Iced Earth, chances are you're going to like this. It's really well done. Great stuff. Seventh Servant, The Tree of Life. Yeah, and the Tree of Life, the reason for the name is he's basically singing the Book of Revelation. So if you're into, the apocalyptic Bible, Revelation Bible story, that's the whole thing is just based on those scriptures. So, all right, staying with the thrash metal again. This is number 5, another German band, KREATOR. A lot of people dissing this album, didn't like it. I don't know why. I love it. It's really well done. Millet is still kicking butt, and I just play it over and over again. I just played it again the other day. I was kind of like, going through my head, putting these in order, and I'm like, a few of them I needed to play again, and I put this one on. I'm like, that one's got to go higher, because I think I had it down at number 10, and I bumped it up to number 5. So if you actually see my list here, you can see scribbles, because after I wrote my list out, and then I went through and started listening to it, I moved things around, and this one moved quite a bit higher. I also saw this band live this year. Whew, man, they were awesome. So many great albums from this band, and this one's right up there with it. I've heard some people complaining it's too clean, it's not as raw as old KREATOR. So what, man? It's still great metal. It may not all be speed for speed's sake, like old times. It might not be as poorly recorded as the old stuff, but it's still just great thrash metal. Love Miele's vocals. Love the hammer to the brain sound that I was, just beat you over the head like I call it machine gun riffing. That, it's just fast down picking double or up down picking or down picking. It gets that heavy crunchy. I love thrash metal. So anyhow, KREATOR at number 5. Number 4, another CD, last CD in the bunch. This one was available on vinyl. I just don't have it yet. But this is the new TOXIK. And this is MORTA. Really, I didn't buy it right away because I'm like, there's no way it's going to be as good as their first 2 albums. And do I think it's better than those? No. There's no way to beat the nostalgia of those first 2 TOXIK albums. But this is really good. Speed metal, thrash metal, whatever you want to call it. I played this CD so many times it's stupid. But finally, after decades of waiting, the official new album by legendary thrash metal originators, TOXIK. That was tough to read. That's some little writing there. So, so there you go. At number 4, we got TOXIK. Number 3 is Megadeth, The Sick, The Dead, and The Dying. No, let's try it again. The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead. I think this is better than their last album. I like the last album. It made my list too. But I listened to this one a lot more. Now, is it technically better? I don't know. It's all a matter of taste. But I did listen to this thing a lot this year. Quite enjoyed it. I bought not only the vinyl, but the CD as well. So I played it in my car quite a bit. It was one of my pre-gym workout jams for quite a while. It's just, it fits right in with the more recent Megadeth albums. So it's not like total speed. But there are some faster songs, especially the first song. Which is the title track, but it's just great Megadeth. So I think out of all the big 4 bands, Megadeth's recent albums have been better than any. So The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead from Megadeth coming in at number 3. Number 2, another thrash band, another old school band, one that surprised me because I do like this band, but I never expected one of their albums to be this high in my list. At number 2, this is 7 Words by UK band XENTRIX. Wow. Just wow. I mean, this is a more recent release, so I've only had this for a couple months, but it's just, I mean, when I first got this thing in the mail, I must have played it every day for a week straight at some point. And I play music all day long, so it's not like it's the only album I played that day. But still, and I'm still putting this thing on. I'm like, it's like I said, I have a pile behind me of stuff that I listen to, and then once I'm done with it, I kind of put it away in my racks. This one is still out and not put away. So this is 7 Words by XENTRIX. Just great, straightforward, old school thrash metal. Cool picture of the band on the back. Coming in at number 2, nolifetilmetal's Top 30. And number 1, another band not a lot of people might have heard of, but man, I cannot even tell you how many times I played this album. It's straightforward, melodic heavy metal. This is Reign of Glory. Now, this is a new band, but it features a bunch of older guys who were in other bands. So you've got Nick Layton from Firewolf, who's on guitar. Roger Del Martin from Die Happy and Vengeance Rising, and among others. He also was in with Emerald, that old 80s band that everybody loves, Emerald. And then you've got Robin Calabasari also from Die Happy and Red Sea and Joshua. And finally you got Jim Chafin on drums who played in The Crucified, The Blamed, Deliverance, among others. But yeah, this is a fantastic album. Like I said, melodic, old school heavy metal, great vocals. His vocals kind of have a mix. Like I've always thought Robin Kyle kind of had like a Ian Gillan sound, and he still does, but on here it's even refined a little more, and I hear like a lot of David Coverdale in his voice too. So it's kind of a mixture of Ian Gillan and David Coverdale. You can tell these guys are huge fans of classic Deep Purple and Scorpions and stuff like that, because you kind of hear those influences in the sound. But yeah, this is a great album. I'm hoping this band does more stuff, but this is Reign of Glory, number 1 on the No Life Till Metal Top 30 of 2022, and I managed to keep it around 30 minutes, and I throw more than 30 records, so I did all right. So I'm going to get off this off this video now. Appreciate y'all watching. Let me know what albums you like. Let me know albums you didn't like. Let me know what albums you thought I was missing. I'm going to be honest. I've got tons of albums that could have made the list. I know for a fact I'm going to hear where was Ozzy, where was Queensryche, where was Ghost. But I mean, there's stuff. Amorphous, yes. Evil Invaders, Night Demon, Kirk Hammett, iconic. Ty Tabor's solo album, Skullfist, Night Demon, Striper, Razor, The Darkness. There was so many great albums released this year, and I just couldn't fit them all in. So that's it. Appreciate y'all watching. God bless. Stay strong.